For the last 20 years, our stock standard sage advice has been buy as much home as the bank will lend you and then pay that loan off as fast as you can. I don't regret a word. The advice worked. Capital city home prices rocketed to record highs, and most doctors live in capital cities. This means for most doctors, the home is the best investment they made. And for doctors not living in capital cities, our City Homes for Country Doctors spiel on the advantage of rental properties in major metropolises worked a treat too. A lot of doctors owe me a cup of coffee or perhaps a nice red. I wonder if this advice still applies. Will it work over the next 20 years? Should you still buy as much home as the bank will lend you? Or has the moment passed, the world changed, and residential property prices now gone too far too fast to reward new investors or new homemakers? What happens if interest rates rise and the bulging bubble bursts? Interest rates can rise as well as fall, and the funny thing about 5% jumping by just 2 percentage points to 7% is that cash payments increase by 40% or $20,000 a year. That's a huge increase. If you owe $1 million, and many do, the extra $20,000 is not tax deductible. Most have to earn nearly $35,000 to get that extra $20,000. That's more than most earn every 6 months. Average annual earnings are just over $60,000 for 50-year-old men, and less for others. Maybe home ownership is not a good idea after all. Maybe there is a better way. Maybe you should instead invest in shares. Over the last 20 years, shares and property have been neck and neck, both averaging about 9.5% a year. There is basically nothing between them. But if asked, which is likely to average 9.5% over the next 20 years, my money is on the ASX. So what if a doctor skipped the grand design of home ownership and instead directed their deposit monies to a share portfolio, say an ASX 200 index fund, geared up the way they do with a home, and then directed equivalent future payments including stamp duty, interest, principal, repairs, rates, water and improvements onto the loan, and just rented something somewhere nice that suited their needs at that time? The mathematical model predicts the renting doctor will do better. The underlying fundamentals are sound. The idea of the ASX maintaining 9.5% compound over the next 20 years works for me. I can see it happening, but I can't see it happening for home ownership, even in Sydney. My money is on the ASX beating home ownership over the next 20 years. This means there is an economic case for doctors letting go of their grand design, that Australian home ownership obsession, and instead renting a home and implementing a long-term disciplined equity strategy. This strategy would probably involve SMSFs, companies and trusts, to get an even better tax investment return and to protect valuable assets from litigious patients and other commercial risks. But that's another story.